welcome to this week's episode of Let's Talk About. My name is Sedi Nam Togo Lamadoko. This evening we'll be discussing financial management in marriages. We would like to remind our cherished viewers and listeners that we are live on our social media platforms, both on YouTube and Facebook at Trinity United Church, Legon. You can also send your questions and comments to our social media platforms or to our WhatsApp number 0501 579 996 0501 579 996. With me, I have three learned and important people. We have from my very left, Dr. George Kodia Frimpong. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Then we have Mrs. Vera Fiado. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And our very own Assistant Minister in Charge, Reverend Daniel Laiyebwa. Papa, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
We'll dive right into it. I'll start with Vera. So when we talk about financial management, I beg your pardon, in a marriage, what exactly are we talking about?
Okay, so finances constitute a resource. That's money. So when you talk of financial management, you're talking about money management. And then money allows us to do a lot of things. But clearly, money is not an unlimited resource. I'm yet to meet anybody with a bank account that you can draw and draw and draw from, and it never runs dry. So clearly, there's a need to manage that. And so when we talk of managing finances in marriage, it becomes even more, critical, because now you have two different people from two backgrounds. And usually how people spend money is a reflection of how they were brought up, their value systems and principles. So when you have two people who come together from two different backgrounds and everything, you have to find a way to get them to be together, to now know how to manage the money. And money management is something that can either make or unmake you. Most people actually suffer from mental stresses and other things because of even on their own. So when you join two people together and you're not able to find that balance, it becomes an issue. So money management in the matrimonial home is something that is considered very critical.
Thank you for the education. You're the professional, of course. Thank you. Now, I have another important question, but I'm very excited that all my panelists today are married. At your counseling sessions, Papa, you're a counselor too, so it gives me double the treat. At your counseling sessions, do your counselors check your financial standing before giving you the green light to marry? Because I know that you are asked to run some tests and all of that to be sure that you are, compatible or you are fit and all of that. But are you asked to bring your financial statements and all of that? Papa, I'll start with you. You are the counselor, so you speak from both sides.
Yes.
As the person receiving the counseling and the one giving it.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No. The fact that the couple have come out to be joined together in holy matrimony presupposes that they are ready, they are prepared financially to to foot all the bills involved. So what we do is to take you through some simple financial management when you come together as a couple, what you should do, a cap that you should set, how to manage your budget. Those are the petty issues that we really talk about, we usually talk about. Yeah.
But shouldn't we? Instead of assuming that everything is fine, shouldn't we?
Oh, it depends.
Okay.
It depends. It depends. And one thing that is most needful is whether the person is footing their bills, the marriage bills, on loan, or is it their own income? It has been planned. So what you do is to give them advice. You advise them not to do that. And that should be done before they even come. Those things are done within the church before they even come to say that, Papa, we're preparing to get married. We want you to counsel us. This is the date we want to get married. And then you proceed with the counseling.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you don't think it's entirely necessary? You don't think it should be obligatory?
No, it shouldn't be. I don't think
Dr. Kodia, what do you think?
Now you should check your accounts. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing my counseling, nobody asked me to go for it.
Okay.
And I thought it was right, But I also know that in some churches, what they will do is that they require that at least the man is working.
Okay.
Because you are going to marry as our culture, dictates. And so you must be working. So even if you are not financially, you don't have a fat account, you must be working.
Okay.
And so long as you are working and you are going to be responsible, then it means you are good to go.
You're good to go.
And I said a man. I don't know if we should say the woman too should be asked to ensure that she's working and is ready to contribute. I don't know.
We'll come back to that in the middle of the discussion. Vera, do you think that people should marry broke? I mean, you should marry when you don't have money or you have just a little money, because sometimes you can have an amount of money but you're still considered broke, you know?
So I like the part you put to that. When you say broke, that's quite relative. Relative because when somebody has got only 2,000 cedis in their account, they think they're broke. Somebody has 20,000 and they think there's a problem, and somebody has 20 cedis. So when we say broke, it's relative, but relative because from even a finance perspective, the wealth of a person can actually be seen in different ways, both in terms of what they have and what they can potentially have.
Okay.
So even in investments, when you're actually deciding to invest today about something, you take the decision today, but it's based on anticipation. So when the person may not have a lot of money, but at least is able to, they've rented the place, you can get by and feed yourselves, the two of you, then of course you now start planning together how you are going to get the journey on. And that's why at this point it takes two. And I like the issue where George was asking whether, though they normally focus on the man, I think in managing finances, it's better if there's more income than the less. So if both parties are working, great. Sometimes when I'm handling investments, one of the key things, especially within the Christian realm, the question I like to put across is, a number of us believe in Christ, and then my favorite text on that is Luke 14:28-29. It's my favorite because it speaks to my field and all. He says, who wanting to build a fortress doesn't first sit to count the cost, lest you start unable to complete and then you become a mockery. And this is coming from the man who was able to raise the dead, brought people sight when they were blind, they could now speak, they could now walk when they were crippled. And he says, before you get in, you count the cost. Counting the cost doesn't mean having all the money, but it means I have what it takes to finish it. And so when we say marrying broke, it's very relative.
Okay.
You may not have all the money now, but if you have what it takes
To make you comfortable.
to get you where you want to go, by all means, go.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sure we'll come back. Papa, you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to just add to what Vera said. And when you come to the church setting, especially the church, those of us who have met today, Trinity United Church, Legon, our minister in charge, Papa Martin Obin, usually talks about this, that you can marry coming in a helicopter, or you come walking or on your bicycle too.
I really like it when he says that.
Yeah, because people don't know that in the marriage, according to law, there are only few parties who should be present. Very few parties, from the lady's side, from the guy's side, and then the clergy or the marriage officers who will be present. And that is all. We meet, and we've been having some of these weddings. It doesn't cost, it costs you nothing. All the cost is maybe at what we call the engagement in the home, when you are going for the traditional marriage. That is all. When you come to the church, we do everything in the conference room for you. We don't preach. We give you short exhortation. We don't take offering. Very short, within 20-30 minutes, we are done. You are married. You are legally married. You are just equal as the person who brought in a helicopter to marry.
Papa, so you stole my next question.
Really?
I was going to ask what you thought of big weddings, but you've spoken to it.
Yeah.
So I'll let Dr. Akodia say something.
Yeah,
Are they necessary?
big wedding. I've thought about it, and it gives me the opportunity to think back to when I did mine.
Okay.
At the time, I felt I needed something big.
Okay.
I wanted my friends to be there.
Okay.
I wanted my family. I wanted people who I loved. You know, there were certain people I needed to be there. And so at the time, if somebody told me that do a small wedding, maybe I wouldn't have, you know, reasoned with a person. And so now, when we say it, you know, I see it that it is their time. Advice. Ask them for what they want to do. But when I sit and I see some people have the boldness, I call it courage and discipline, to say that I want to just go and do something simple, sign it and go my way. Because at the end of the day, many people who are richer than you will come to your wedding and enjoy the fatness of the little you have. And then you go broke sometimes. You know, what is the sense in that?
Right.
Yeah, so you balance it. If it is you have your money and you want to see your loved ones there so they enjoy the moment with you, fine, you can afford it, go ahead. But it is better if you can cut down and do it simple so that afterwards you manage, you have the pleasure, the joy when the family is really, I mean, the you know, marriage is really ongoing. Yeah.
I see Vera nodding a lot. And I'm really happy that all my questions are leading to the other ones. So I'm going to talk about the wedding debt, but say something on the big weddings, and then we'll go to that. So Papa, be thinking of that.
You know, in all of these things, one of the key things that matters is, can you afford it? So counts the cost. It counts back still. If you've got the money and you've got the fat bank account, by all means, blow. It's you. It makes you happy. The problem is when you see somebody with a certain kind of wedding, and then you also want to copy the thing by force. Meanwhile, you are the kind when, Charlie, when one CD of yours gets missing, you get BP. Don't try it. So those are some of the issues. So as for the big weddings, it's all about what you can afford. So if you can't afford it, please walk away and stay within what you can. And I normally have asked a lot of people who want to get married. I remember there was one I experienced. We want to get married. What is your budget? Oh, we are working with something. I said, what is the budget? Now, the reason normally it's important, whether big or small, even for a big wedding, like unless you have unlimited resources, you need to cap. So someone will say, okay, I want a wedding that will cost 100,000, 200,000, and I have got it. That's fine. Then because you have set the cap, it now tells you the kind of wedding gown you can go for, the kind of car you want to rent for the even the kind of reception menu you want to use. So if you happen to be like myself when getting married, I remember the traditional wedding, I told my dad, my mother, my father, they will cheer me. The man's mother and father, they will cheer me, and then they'll suffer to pray. My father goes like, young lady, it's impossible. You are my first daughter, so we have to do something. Like, okay, whatever you run then, the bill is yours. Of course, he was excited at that time. But if you don't have, and then it's how you want to plan it. So the issue is all about what you want. And can afford.
Even if you can afford it, small weddings are beautiful. I'll keep that opinion to myself anyway. So now, Vera also touched on the wedding debt and all of that.
Yeah.
But you have people who ordinarily cannot afford a big wedding. They throw the big parties, and then after that, it's time to pay the money. Is there any clear-cut rule as to who should pay for it? Because, you know, in Ghana here, the man goes to marry the woman, you see. So is the man supposed to pay or, you know, foot the entire bill? Is he supposed to incur the cost entirely, or he can share it? Because the party was ours, you know.
To continue with, I think we should, first of all, discourage running into debt during weddings.
Right.
You know, most studies have come out that a lot, that's over 50%, about 76%. Other studies also found about 46% of newlyweds getting themselves into debt. Just think about that word. I'm afraid of debt, oh, D-E-B-T. I'm afraid. I know personally of a wedding that the couple contracted a loan to get into marriage, and after they were unable to pay for over 5 years. Wow. They were trying to service the loan. And this man will always be on their necks. And they were in the same church. Will always be on their neck, pay me. Pay. I mean, think of what you are going to face, the challenges you are going to face within a marriage. In your first few months in marriage that you are supposed to enjoy so much, you go to your honeymoon thinking about that. Honeymoon thinking about that. It shouldn't be so. So now you've entered into it. I think both parties should try as much as possible to service the loan or to service that debt. The two parties should come together and agree. Maybe a percentage of the guy's income will go into the loan, a percentage is going to this place, will go into savings, this is going to spending. Then the lady too, if she is also working, a percentage of hers must also go there.
Papa, why are you saying if? Why making it conditional?
No, you're talking about the guy.
Okay.
Should he be the only one servicing the loan? And in our situation, we, the guys, we are the ones who marry the ladies.
I think if you cannot afford it, don't do it. But moving on. So we've taken it from somewhere. I asked if you should marry when you're broke, and then we are talking about weddings. Now we are moving into the marriage itself and how to manage the finances in the marriage. Let's talk about joint accounts. Let's dive right into it. I'll start with Vera. She's laughing. She has a lot to tell us. Vera, what do you think of joint accounts? Do you think that married couples should be obliged to have, or are obliged to have joint accounts? If yes, why? If no, why? And should they have separate accounts in addition to the joint accounts too? Loaded question. Tell us.
All right. So there are no hard and fast rules for this issue of joint accounts. And let me give an example. If I have, like I like to tell people, if I have a very bad spending habit, for the sanctity of the marriage, it will be suicidal for my spouse to share a kind of joint account with me where I also have, free access. If it's a joint account, then of course some rules may apply. Rules like, okay, you both sign for the money to move. It means that maybe such an account may not necessarily have an ATM or anything like that. It's only a checking account, and both parties must sign, meaning that money that moves from that account is money that has been agreed upon as a couple. And some people do that in the sense that they pool resources and decide, okay, we want to build a house. And so it is a house and maybe sometimes school fees or something that gets into that joint account. And then you find them having their separate. And it's important that even in the space of that marital union, there's always what should be a bit on the discretionary side. So we agree on what the home should work with, and then we can have something in terms of what we want to have as in. So I see something, I like this shoe. If this is what is left in my separate account, then I can do some spending in that regard. But other than that, now it's not an obligation. And when you do keep, you should have some rules. Others work on the premise of my money is mine and my husband's is ours, and that has been known to create a lot of. But I work on the principle that when it comes to money, pooling together can give a lot of benefits, and more importantly, from the perspective of marriage, the two are now one, especially from a Christian perspective. So you pool together. It may very well be that in a particular home, the lady may have been blessed with certain jobs. There are people who may be expatriates, etc., or on certain job roles. They make good money. Why not? You come together and agree as to how to do that joint. So having a joint account, not key, but having a shared vision as to how the money should be used is key. It may not always go into a particular account, but there's a goal and a shared idea as to how we are going to use our money within this union. Okay, thank you.
Papa and Dr. Kodia, who has something to say on the joint accounts before we move on?
I think I will take it. Joint account has been recommended as one of the best ways of managing resources in marriage. in the sense that it has a lot of advantages, some of which include the fact that we are able to bring our resources together, and then we can we can decide about things that we want to do, and we define them so that it avoids wastage,
right.
you know, so that it's not a fact of each doing what he wants with his money and all that. So yes, it's one of the best approaches.
Okay.
Like as Vera said, not everybody can keep it, because the discomfort of it is the fact that you have to always be accountable. You are always being asked, what did you use with the money? You went to the account. How much did you take?
Yeah.
I saw you withdrew money.
Yeah.
What did you use it for? And many people are not able to, you know, subject themselves to that stiff accountability, especially when it becomes when it is the man who is being accountable, constantly being asked about what you use the money for. And the man will say, but I'm working, so can't I use my money for what I want to use it for? You know, so with that kind of account, you are going to have to be communicative, so that always, constantly, somebody is checking on you. Okay. But there are several alternatives which work best for some people. I know of a situation where the lady, also a good Christian, said that, I don't want shared account. But the man says, that is what I want. We should do a shared account.
Okay.
But the lady knows that the man is not disciplined enough.
Okay.
And so if we put it together, we are dead.
Yes.
You know, because this guy goes and buys tilapia and comes to sit at a corner and eat it himself.
Okay.
And the wife and the children are there. And yet you are saying we should use a joint, you know. So it doesn't work always in all situations.
Okay.
You know, so you do what is best for you. And I think it fits into what Vera just said.
I think it also boils down to the type of person you are going to be doing the marriage with. Yes.
To add just one more thing.
Okay.
One of the things you find, especially for some couples, is a lack of transparency.
Right.
So they see the issue of the joint account per se doesn't become so, you know, much of a problem if there's transparency. I know how much you earn, and then you also know how much I earn. So then we each know each person's strength, and that way we can work together. But sometimes you find everybody wanting to hide exactly what they earn, and that's where some of the problems start from.
Now, I said earlier that the questions were linking to each other. So to the transparency, I'll come back. But I would like to remind our viewers that we are live on our social media platforms on YouTube and Facebook at Trinity United Church, Legon. You can also send us your questions, comments, suggestions, whatever you have, on our WhatsApp number 0501 579 996, 0501 579 996. Back to the transparency. Vera mentioned this, so I'll ask her, should you, or is it really necessary as, you know, a couple to be totally transparent with each other? You know, especially when you have a husband who buys tilapia and eats it alone. You know, maybe get some extra money that is not mainstream coming in or something. And you know that if I put this money in there, he'll squander it. Or she'll squander it, not to be, you know, gender bias. Is it really necessary if you have a partner like that?
So you see, it's what works for you. So if, for example, like I put myself, I'm in the habit of doing the tilapia buying. It doesn't add up. Yes, there can be transparency about how much money I am making or he's making. But then there's also going to be discipline about what you release. So yes, you know the problem, I once told somebody that, does your husband know how much money you have in your bank account roughly? I say, hey, for the way. And I was like, oh, why? I say, Charlie, immediately the man gets to know what is in my bank account. They'll come up with all the interesting investment ideas. Meanwhile, this person was in the banking field, said, me too, I can invest. So, but then every day there'll be something we should invest in. So I don't disclose. I was like, hey, so what if something happens and genuinely there's a need for money? Like a child is sick and it requires a huge amount of money. And that money is sitting in your account. And out of the blues, this person has been asking, bring some 3,000, 5,000, let's do so. Man, yeah, I won't do. Then suddenly there's a need that requires you to shell 100,000 and you write a check from your account. You should know that your marriage is It's about hitting the gutter. So that transparency is key, but it must also be laced with discipline that, yes, this is how much we are making, but this is how much we will spend. Okay. Anything more than that, so the person knows, but also knows that, oh, when it comes to my spouse, anything beyond this one, my spouse won't mind you. Okay. And with time, of course, people, what I'll find is level. They know that, oh, this is my spouse. That's how they are, and it works.
Okay,
yeah.
Papa, quickly say something. Do you agree with the idea of shared accounts?
Shared accounts,
joint accounts,
and transparency.
Yes.
Let me touch on the transparency first.
Okay.
Genesis 2:25 says that the man and the woman, they were both naked and were not ashamed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Adam was seeing the nakedness of Eve. Eve was seeing the nakedness of Adam. Mm-hmm. And these two were not ashamed. Mm-hmm. Now, in a marriage setting, we see ourselves naked or in the dark. Not whether in the dark or whether the lights are on, we see ourselves naked. So you've seen my nakedness. What about your account? Mm-hmm. Why are you hiding it? There was a case in Ghana here where it was open, so this I can talk about it. It was in the media, on social media, everywhere, where a renowned lawyer who became a minister in one of the ministries in the government, her marriage suffered divorce. Okay. And one of the issues that I saw that the man, who is also himself a lawyer, wrote about, why he's divorcing the wife, was there was no transparency in the income that the woman was gaining. Okay. Even though being a minister, even though being part of government, the husband doesn't know anything about the finances.
No, but the minister's salaries are publicized.
Well,
the salaries are publicized.
But you gain other things from elsewhere. Yeah. You see, and everything was kept in the dark. One thing that we should understand, never keep these things in the dark. Okay. There are recipes for disaster in the future. You are just setting the stage gradually to collapse your own marriage. Let it be bare. Okay. And the joint account, I also go in the same vein where Sister Vera's tread. It is not mandatory. Okay. You can decide to come together, and this will depend on the maturity of both couple. One may be matured enough, disciplined enough not to touch. One will be very undisciplined, like the man who was sitting in the corner enjoying the tilapia. Yeah, one will be so undisciplined that he will definitely touch that income. Yes.
So you don't agree. Now, quickly, in about 2 minutes, Dr. Kodia, let's talk about shared property. So cars and homes and stuff like that. Now, we've spoken about shared accounts. I don't want to create a direct link between that and shared property. What do you think? Would you buy a house with your money and put your wife's name on it as well?
A lot of times people don't know what Ghana stands when it comes to these things. It is not a choice. Right. Once we are married, things that we get during the marriage, yes, it's for both of us. Right. So it's the mindset I personally use, and if I have a thing, it is for us. Okay. So what I do is that I used my money to buy it, but I make them put my wife's name also on it, okay, because it is for us. Yeah, I don't like it. I know of a situation where this is a practical one. It's happened that the wife bought a car, and yet the man runs it. The wife doesn't drive, okay, and for the fact of their religious background, the woman will say, Fifi, I am here. Pick me up, yeah, when he says, I can't pass by your place. I'm in a hurry. Sometimes I want, the kid is sick. He says, I am tired. Can you take taxi? Can you take Uber? Wow. It means that people go to that extent to show they don't understand the concept of marriage, right, in terms of property that we get. Right. It is for both of you. Okay. Yeah.
Anybody disagrees?
No, I do not. I do not. I think it's the two of you are one. Right. So whether or not you share, The law will make you share when the need arises. so it doesn't change much.
My other question,
Yeah.
we'll come to it. Okay, we'll take a break now. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back from the break. Thank you for staying with us. If you just joined, this is Let's Talk About, and we are talking about financial management in marriages. We'd like to remind you that we are live on our social media platforms on YouTube and Facebook at Trinity United Church Legon. You can also send us your questions and comments on our WhatsApp number 0501 579 996 0501 579 996. Thank you. We are back. We were going to talk about something, but we'll come back. But Dr. Kodia, we are talking to you like as a married man, right? Do you have percentages in your home? Okay, so for the school fees, or maybe Nana Kosuya, forgive me if I use, dummy names. I'll pay 60% and my wife will pay 40% or something like that. Do you do that in your home? Do you think it should be done?
So percentage sharing, a lot of principles have been used, and it's something that is so crucial in every marriage. So what I will emphasize is equity. Equity, equity, not equality. We are not going to say that 50-50. You bring, we are going to spend 100. So I put my 50 there. You two put 50 there. Here, and Vera will share the same view, because it's who takes so much. Based on it, he or she contributes. And so if I take 1,000, if I get 1,000 cedis, and we have any project that will cost us 50 cedis, and my wife takes, I am 1,000, she takes 500, then it makes sense that I will contribute the chunk of more. But people also have other ways that the woman manages the kitchen. So you bring money for the kitchen, then I bring money to do the other things. Sometimes it works. It works for certain marriages. For some people it doesn't, especially also that things are so fluid, they keep changing. At some point it worked that the woman should take care of the kitchen only, but at some point it doesn't work, because we get to see that maybe the kids' fees are not so much, something small, and the bills are not also coming in at the time, and the man has not started the project. So why push the kitchen matters on the woman alone, especially knowing that how much she gets is not enough? And people complain about this thing, that I don't even know how much my husband takes, and yet I do most of the things, and then I think something has gone wrong. And so in terms of percentage sharing, I think equity, we look at who takes much between, who takes more between the two of us. He has to bring more, and then consider the one who doesn't take so much, and she or he will contribute according to his or her mean. And I meant he or she, because the dynamic will change. It may be the woman who is taking more, not always that a man is taking more.
Very, I know you agree.
Yeah, so in fact, to build on the premise of equity, it starts best if you actually try to have a budget. So by budgeting, let's say you agree, and then you start from the Christian perspective, you take your 10% out first. Standard money management principle requires that you keep somewhere around 20%, between 10 to 20% as savings. So immediately 30% of the funds are gone. Now you must split the remaining 70% between wants and needs. So as a family together, you should be able to put down a very comprehensive list of the bills that must be paid. So food, rent, clothing, utilities like water, electricity, entertainment, children's school fees, fuel for the car, if you're paying a car, loan repayment, everything. All of these things should be documented. Then we can come up with more like a family budget. Now, if the family budget comes down to 10,000 Ghana cedis, if we are both earning 5,000 apiece, then it means, everybody's 5,000 is going into the pool. Now, if it so happens that somebody is earning 10,000 and then somebody is earning 5,000, then we must agree you're earning twice what I earn. We'll do ratios and proportion. So what it does is that it leaves everybody with a proportionate portion of their income to also do something. But you find that in homes, I think I raised this issue of my money is mine and my husband is ours. And of course, people don't also notice the food bill can be very outrageous without noticing. And so when you don't balance it carefully, and unfortunately in some cases if the woman happens to earn less than the man, this can be a strain, because it means that every time the woman is going to be hard up. The reverse also is the case that maybe the woman earns a lot, but they have agreed that she runs the home. Relative to her salary, the home bill is small because she's making big. And then the man is supposed to be responsible for school fees. Now the worst case is when they decide that even though maybe the lady may not be paying the school fee because of principle, she decides that they must go to a place like Morning Star, Hefa. you won't pay, but you are insisting that they go to it can create a lot of problems. So it should never be 50-50, like she said. It's equity, not necessarily equality. And in doing that, the easiest way is get the family budget, and then let's see who contributes what, so that each person can be left with something, if anybody is left with anything, to do one or two things that they may also like, just to make them happy. Yeah.
Thank you. Papa, the question has been fully exhausted. I don't think I would like you to say anything else.
No problem.
But I'll take you to another issue that is very important to me. So we have this Ghanaian mentality, or general mentality, that the man should be the breadwinner, right? So even if the man gets into or hits a hard rock, or loses his job, gets maimed or something, loses his ability to work and to earn money, people still insist that the man runs the home. What do you think of that?
Well, let me also add a situation where the man is earning, but the woman is earning far more than, much more than the man. Yes. We cannot take our tradition out. Okay, that is what we came to meet. I remember last week we spoke about that embedded tradition and the African, that evil is so part of our culture that everything that happens, the African must find that spiritual dimension to it. In the same vein, this tradition of the man is the head of the home, you are supposed to keep. And you know what? Women love enjoying the monies of men, no matter how small amount you give her. The woman always wants to see that my man gave me something. Even if it is 10 Ghana cedis, she sees that as love, as an African woman. Yeah, African women, they love money. No matter how small, no matter how small it is. And I think that notion should not be aborted, or should not be misunderstood by men. Yes, I'm earning less. Yes, my woman is earning much more than me. Still give her something to support the home. She should not cater for the home. I mean, all alone. Still support the home. Yes, you have been maimed by, and that occurrence, that is why in the budget, there's a portion called savings. Before, it wasn't so, but now the unfortunate have happened. And during your marriage vows, you said, for better, for worse. I've led so many people to say this, in sickness and in health. So that issue of sickness has cropped up, and you are not able to work as before. What you saved will be working for you now. What you saved will be working for you now. Yeah. That's what yes.
Okay. But Papa, let's look at the reverse roles. So the man was the breadwinner,
Yes.
or the woman was the breadwinner. Now we are looking at more at the man, like you said, in traditional homes or in a traditional setting, the man is mostly the head of the family. Would you say that if the man loses his ability to, keep on heading the house, the woman shouldn't do it? I know that when you give an African woman money, she likes it and all of that. But some people will say he's the head of the house, so he must do it.
I mean, that boils down to the two of you.
Okay.
All right, that boils down to the two of you. You need to work it out, and work it out well.
Okay.
You need to. If it needs a third party to come into it, I always recommend that you go back to your counselor, the one who counseled you before you married. If you cannot reach out to your counselor, your immediate pastor is there. Reach out to the pastor. Let him come into your home, help you trash out that issue. Yeah.
Okay.
If in your incapacitation you can still get something else to do with your fetch income, why not? You must enter into it and bring income home. Okay.
Dr. Kodie, so in a situation where one person is not ill, everyone is working and all of that, but your wife is earning more than you, you think she should give the money for upkeep, typically called chop money?
Yeah, so I will go back to the way we began it by saying that the culture says that the man is the one to provide, to the one to cater for his family. Much as Christianity and modernity make it such that we dilute it, we do a blend, that you don't just leave everything on the man. We also consider that it has some benefits.
Okay.
It gives the man a sense of responsibility. You are responsible, you know, and so it ties in also with the notion in the Bible that, Christianity, that the man is the head of the home. And somebody has said that, look at the head and compare it with the body. Which one is bigger? And so in terms of who occupies the biggest space, it is the body. The head is just a little. And that is reflective of the fact that the woman occupies the entire home. The man occupies just a small space in the home. Yeah, and in our culture, where especially the matrilineal, where the children are for the woman, then it means you, the man, you are the only person. If they belong, you don't belong, kind of.
Okay.
You know, so the woman also comes in to support. But if we begin by saying that it is the man's responsibility to provide for his family, then the man will do it, that responsibility well. Then when he doesn't have some humility, we need to come in. Because to get the woman to support, to come to help, to assist. Well, I know there is a modernist view that says that when it's our money, we are all married. Yeah. So why should I be humble? Why should I beg you for you to bring it? But if we approach it from that consciousness, then it means that some humility will need to come from the man for the woman to also come in. But it also works well if the woman is conscious that the man cannot do it, and sometimes some men are not able to do the humility thing.
To ask.
The woman too should take the steps and do it, so that you sit that the man hasn't asked, so you are sitting. So how do we move on? You keep the money. How do we move on? You know the man wants to say it, but he cannot say it. So why won't you come in to help? I don't know.
But he should be able to say it.
Well, but that's why I'm saying humility will be necessary here. Somebody has said it that maybe it's about the submission, that it says that the woman should be submissive, then the man should love. Maybe let's blend it. Showing love and humility and submission will blend, and maybe the way forward will be garnered.
Okay.
So for the first verse before I say submit one onto the other. So for the first one starts with the two, then they give a double layer. So the lady is double square, then the man he has two. Submit and then love. That even makes the work more difficult. But the issue of one party unable to, I like to go back to the issue of Proverbs 31. And that makes for a woman who is capable of holding the fort. So sometimes I ask some ladies, what are you also bringing to the table beyond washing, cooking, cleaning, etc.? Yes, those are services that we haven't valued over the years, and so somehow we don't see it as monetary. And so there's nothing wrong, genuinely, because some years, if you were busy, and somebody were to cook for you, you would pay for that. Yeah. If somebody were to wash for you, you pay for that. Now, if for some reason there's a way to, and maybe now the spouse is unable to work, the woman should just support. Yes, the humility bit, and so that's why I'm coming back to helping, that the submission is double, so you too can submit. But of course, if you truly love somebody, and that's the issue, if you care about the person, you actually even begin to feel what they feel even before they ask. So at this point, you know that, Charlie, when you start asking simple questions and then your husband suddenly give you cheeky responses, you start asking certain questions. Have you eaten? Did you sleep well? You know where something, so that's when you even know the person. And so that adds a bit of flavor to knowing that this is a true friend. And when you've got a friend and they are down there, you extend their hand and then you grab them. So we have our cultural settings, but at the end of the day, will the culture make your home happy? If it's going to make your home better by sticking to the rules and whatnot, from a finance perspective, knowing how finances can mess people up, the real deal is, can you look at what works for you in your home? You don't have to broadcast it to the whole world, and then you proceed along those lines.
Okay, thank you, Vera. Our viewers are still reminded that we would like to have your questions and your comments through our social media platforms, YouTube and Facebook, or on our WhatsApp number 0501 579-996, 0501-579-996. Please join in the discussion. We'd love to hear from you. Papa, I'll come to you, but I want to go to Vera. Now, you mentioned that this is your field. We are grateful that you are here. Now, I would like you to share some tips on saving in marriages. First, share it from your, professional aspect, and then as a married woman.
Okay. So professionally, like I said, it starts with the budget, which I do. So let me give an example. When we got married, we had in mind that we wanted to build as quickly as possible. So first things first, when the salary hit, then you just take the amount of money and then you block it into the various, so the tithing, how much we should save, and then how much is going. So at that point, the savings is what we now channeled to the building, and then how much we could now spend at home and out of that, therefore, immediately realize that DSTV is not our portion. We have to do one car so that we carpool instead of two people all moving cars out of there. It also meant that in our early days, we rented a very small place. So you looked at a lot of these things. Now, it's important to start, and their habits. So if you don't quickly set them into that space, it becomes even now I could say that, okay, as the years have gone by, we've learned to improve our income, because there are two things. So you can work on the part and say 10% is tithing, 20% for saving. Then now you're left with 60%. So if it's your pooled resources, both husband and wife, then now how much of it goes for each person to some house? So assuming you decide to take 10% of it and now share, or based on however the model is for pooling that funds, then now of the 50 that may be left for the purposes, or 60 left for the purposes of needs and wants, you now prioritize. And then you begin to check off. In some cases, it may mean that the kind of school your children attend, you are either going to be downgrading, or then you're going to upgrading your salary by looking for another income source to top up. So those are some of the things. So the saving bits, you start with it first, and then you start putting the money away. One of the key things you also have to bear in mind, that aside from savings, you're supposed to try and put together what you call an emergency fund. Somewhere along the line, you should have about 6 months of your salary or your living expenses. I wouldn't want to say salary, your living expenses stashed away. That's supposed to be your buffer. So that in the event like somebody has lost a job, it gives you that freeness and peace of mind to genuinely look for a job, or even sometimes to decide fully to transition into, let's say, private. Because when you are so hot, then it means you're desperately looking to just replace an income source. And sometimes you might even decide to go in for a job that doesn't even make you happy. It can come with its own problem. So those are some of the things. And once you put those together, it means that you must now have financial discipline, which a lot of us don't have. When we see something, Charlie, it's immediate gratification. I want that shoe now. I want that shirt now. Oh, I went to some place, oh, Charlie, I want to have that tilapia now. And all those things can actually make saving a very difficult journey for most of us.
Thank you. Well, I like the fact that you've spoken a lot about the budget. It's important. It's hard, but it's important.
It's critical.
So we have our first question. JD says, do you think there's a threshold to which each party can withdraw without the consent of his or her partner? I think we spoke about this, about knowing who it is, but Dr. Kodia, do you want to say something?
When it comes to these issues, I like to go for full disclosure. Because a threshold, and these are the little things that will gnaw at our relationship. Today you think it is nothing, but tomorrow, especially when tempers are high, then references will be made. Yesterday, the other day, you went and you took this one, that one, I saw it, and I didn't say anything. These are little things that you want to avoid because they may have deadly consequences. So full disclosure.
Full disclosure. Derek, I hope you have an answer to your question. Mira has spoken a lot about the question I asked there, so it's fine. Papa, I want to ask you, investment ideas. What are some ideas you would give us? You're a counselor, of course.
Yes.
Yes. So tell us some things you think married couples can, pump their money into to generate more for them.
Before, there's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon, written by one George Clason. In that book, he said, a part of what you earn is yours to save. Something that has remained with me since I read that book. A part of what you earn is yours to save. Meaning, you pay everybody. And that's what we all do, or most people do. We pay everybody except yourself. You even pay God. You give you give the church your tithe. You give to widows, you give to this, you give to the shoe seller, you give to the cocoa seller, you give to the cobbler, you give to all of them except yourself. So, number one thing is that a part of everything that you are earning is yours to save. Well, in today's world, not in Ghana alone, but the whole world, we all know of these hardships that we are facing. Why not get into business? And here I'm careful, very careful, the sort of business that you are going to get into. Because that alone could be, coming from a spiritual perspective, as a minister, that alone can be a trap to take everything that you have. And I have people telling me this, Papa, we entered into this and now everything is gone. So you prayerfully consider it. Where are we going to put our money? Is it into polythene? Is it into slippers? What is it into? Where does God want us to invest more, to do business more? And then you think about your interests, what you are most interested in. Some will be interested in selling clothes. Maybe you have an already market in your working space. In fact, my wife is into that. She's a nurse, but she's into that, and I support her a lot. I support her, though I sow some without paying. And then I take them out from this money. She has an already market there in her workplace, and she'll take them there. This person will buy, that person will buy. You bring in something home. So what you are so much interested in, there's this new, wigs that you ladies, you wear. I know some professionals are getting into how to fix some of these wigs, and some are even in the business of exporting them outside the country for income. Why not study a trade, learn a trade that may not take so much of your time? In your spare time, you put those things together, then you sell it for more income to help the family. So I believe these are some simple areas that we can.
I'll come back to Vera to give us safe investment tips, because I'm happy you said you are being careful, you were treading cautiously. I'll come back to her so that she can give us some safe, investment options as a married woman, as a professional, of course. But we have another question from Julius Kwashi. He says, is it safe to assume from Papa's submission that the man who has not worked and saved before is not in the right place to get married? Dr. Cody.
Okay, so who has not worked? What is the meaning of work here? We need to define what work is.
Okay. Maybe something that brings money home.
Yes. So if you don't bring money home, how can
what business do you have with marriage?
How can you take care of another person? We always pray that the God who was able to take care of me when I was alone can take care of us when we are two. But when that God was taking care of you, he was making some money come somehow. If it is dependence on your parents and you want to marry, that is a problem. So if work means something that brings regular income, I think it is commendable. And that is where marriage should begin from. You should aim to be working, selling something, or in somebody's employment or something. You know, not to think about saving.
Okay.
As for the saving, I wouldn't say you must have saved
Okay.
before you can do it, but at least you must be doing some work.
Okay. Some
I
steady
believe it
income.
also ties in the Bible when it says that. I mean, you must be working at the time if you find the person, finding means you are working. Work is, I think, very important. I will
important.
emphasize that. Yeah.
Papa, I deliberately didn't ask you because he said you made the submission. I wanted Dr. Kodia to speak to it as a married man, not as a clergy or counselor, particularly. We have another question. I'll come to you, Vera. Be thinking of my answers, please. Daniel Kuchachi says, is it appropriate for the woman's family to know the financial status of the man before the marriage? Papa, take that one first.
Let me put it in another way.
Okay.
Is it appropriate for you, your daughter, I mean, you are giving out your daughter in marriage. Is it appropriate for you to know the income of the one who is coming to marry your daughter? Very much appropriate. Very, very much.
It is.
It is. You should. Because in that case, will he be able to cater for my child? I'm not saying that my child is not working on.
Okay.
There's that instance where the in-law will say, it is because my daughter is working, that is why this man wants to marry her. And unfortunately, let me bring out this incident. Years back, I took a taxi and a young man came to sit by me. And I mean, he was talking, you know, those guys who, he doesn't know me anywhere, but he wanted to speak with me.
Okay.
And he was saying, do you think, why do you think I married you? You're a nurse. Why do you think I married you? I married you because of your money.
Wow.
Oh, he was bold to say that to someone that he doesn't know. I married you because of your money. So there are people with so many sort of mentalities who come for our daughter's hands in marriage. You should know. And I'll go for Dr. Kodia's submission that, is he working? And which I think he should be working. Does he have a good flow of income, maybe monthly? This is what he gets monthly. Does he have that? If he has, good to go.
Okay.
Good to go.
Okay. So I'll come to Vera finally, but we have a comment by Asari Albert. He says, because of the so-called big weddings and finances, some people are still living as husband and wife. This is cohabitation, which is wrong. I'm sure he's trying to say that because they can't afford it, they choose to just live together without performing their rights. Thank you for your comment, Albert. Vera, tell us about safe investment ideas for married couples.
Okay. So safe investments, aside from the traditional T-bills and other creditable institutions,
Okay.
one of the key things you have to look for when you're looking at an investment which is considered safe is the fact that you should be able to understand the business model that generates the value that is coming to you. So beyond government, which is written on the treasury of the state, so it's like government. If a government can tax you to pay you back, print money and pay you back, so that's fine. But any other business, you should be able to interpret what generates the money, because every business typically is like buying and selling. The bank, for example, takes your money as deposits, sells it as a loan at a higher rate, collects the loan, and then will pay you back the interest plus your deposit. And then the difference between the extra they collected is then their profit. And because they're able to do on a large scale, they get money. So every business is buying and selling. So yes, I have financial expertise. You engage me, means you're buying my brain power, and then you pay for that. And out of that, I make a gain. One of the key things, therefore, is to, if you do not understand how the money is generated, please walk away. It is unsafe. So somebody said, oh, bring 55,000, and in 3 months, I'll give you 200,000. How are they making the money? If it cannot be explained in basic common sense to the old lady in some Fanchinenko something village, that's the first ground rule. That's an unsafe. Secondly, If you happen to want to do your own business, therefore, it must usually work around, because one of the key things, one of the reasons a lot of businesses fail is because they have failed to identify the market need. Every business succeeds also because you are solving a problem, and it is out of solving that problem you make money. So let's say these days a lot of career women are busy, so cooking at home is a problem. And you come up with a business that, you know, identify about 10 or 15 career women who are so busy and offer to, let's say, cook for them weekly basis and deliver to their homes. That could be your safe business. Of course, if you have the skill set and you love cooking, that could very well be a beautiful income source. So every weekend, you cook for family, 2 or 3 families, go and drop. The next weekend, you cook for that. So those are the areas. So your hobbies, like Papa said, and then also you could look within your space of people and find out, is there something that is missing that they are trying to fix that they don't get? And then you can take steps to see if you can provide that service, for example. And then that could be a safe avenue for investing, because then you have a ready market for the idea that you've come up with.
Okay. So we have a question. Thank you, Vera.
Sure.
I have a question by Jerry. He says, my question is on the discussion on joint accounts. Should there be a threshold within which one party can withdraw money from the account with the consent of the other? I think it means without. Example, each party can withdraw up to a maximum of 3,000 cedis without the consent of his or her partner within a period of 3 months without the consent of the other. If it's to exceed that amount in the period of time, he or she should seek approval. So I think he means that with a joint account, we're talking about, you know, transparency and all of that. He's trying to say that, are there any maybe open rules where you can withdraw maybe up to 3,000 cedis and you don't have to tell your husband necessarily? It's allowed, but if it's to exceed that, then you have to tell him.
Yes, I think, and it comes back to what really would work for you people. So, you know, some people will therefore decide that, you know, this 3,000 thing, can we put it in everybody's account? So that you blow it how you want to blow or spend, as opposed to in the account. So in some cases, you find that in certain joint accounts, they'll say any to sign, but both to sign when it is. So even on the signatory. So even when the person crosses that threshold, and so it's all about what works for you. So if you agree that, okay, anything below 3,000, but if your bank account is only 10,000, you don't want to set that kind of threshold, because the two of you do, and then suddenly the account is empty. So it's all about look at your context and then come up with a rule. So yes, if you think you want to have, each person wants to have some kind of individual space that once in a while, I just saw some shoes, some bag I like. If the threshold is 3,000, and that is what your account can actually accommodate without going empty, by all means, it works for you. If in the case of another couple, it's actually 300 cedis, that is what it should be. What works for the couple.
So it should be how much both of you are earning and how you can
how
handle
the pool. So it's about how much or how rich the pool is.
If
the pool is getting like 200,000 cedis every month, 3,000. Oh, Charlie, it's cool chop.
That's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
So Jerry has another question. He says, what percentage of the income of the spouse can be given to external family members? I'm happy he asked this. Dr. Kodia did.
Yeah.
Big breath. Tell us.
No, but it's an interesting question. Yeah, the family. And I begin by saying, let love lead when it comes to these issues. You know, because you first have to love your immediate family. They are your priority. Then you grew from a certain background. You had siblings, you have parents, and they are alive. It's your responsibility to support them. But it shouldn't be a chunk of your funds that will be going. I know instances in which one is building a house for the family and the other doesn't support it, doesn't approve it, you know, and it becomes a problem. I can't put a percentage to it, but I think that like it should be a regular thing that every month something from me should go to my parents who are still alive. Something should also go to your parents, whether from me or from you. That is why I say let love lead, so that I can give it to your mother. You can also give it to my mother, depending on who can, or depending on our means. And there should be a cap. At some point, you shouldn't, especially your parents are your immediate responsibility. But when the cousins and your brothers, and even your brothers, you have to support. But it doesn't have to go beyond a certain limit to the extent that it affects your immediate responsibility. That's your immediate family. You know, so that is what
Well, I'm happy you mentioned the agreement, because I was going to say, what if I don't like my mother-in-law or my father-in-law or something? Doesn't mean they are not getting any money. But you touched on it. So. Julius is back with another question. He says, on the back of the submission of the propriety of the lady's family knowing your income, would it not be a ground to reject the man, if even on the basis that the lady earns more, or even on the ground that the man is not living up to the standard in which the lady was raised? Maybe he's just okay, but the lady was raised in wealth.
I think I have this, I say most of my compatriots sometimes say that's a very radical. I think on a more serious note, I don't think, we seem to espouse, especially in our cultural setting, but I think there is a policy that should work for most. You shouldn't demand from any man, or the reverse, a lifestyle that you cannot support yourself. So if both parties are coming in, we are coming in to pool our resources. One person may be stronger elsewhere. Yes, she was raised in wealth, and then she acquires a taste. Can she support? I've had the opportunity once of telling a young lady who once worked for me. She walked into the office one day and she had actually had an iPhone 13. No, 11 at the time. So that the 13. And apparently the father had bought for. So nice. So I asked her, who bought the face? So daddy bought, and the daddy dots on them, and they were 3 children, 2 daughters, and all three, the 2 girls got it and the son also got it. So I asked, but young lady, are you able to buy yourself that kind of food? Then she smiled. I was like, okay, so you have 2 options. Either to make money to buy yourself those kinds of things that daddy buys for you that you love so much, or marry somebody as old as your father, because they would have had the opportunity to grow wealth to the point of being able to sustain that kind of lifestyle. Because if you marry any young man and you demand that they keep up this lifestyle, then you actually set in the stage for disaster. And strictly, not to digress, I've come across the issues where a lot of my young people in class and others are exiting to go do forex trading and other things, because it brings in quick money to be able to meet some of these, what do you call, extravagant or excessive demands from young ladies they may be interested in. So of course it boils down to this issue of cohabitation, because the young man is not in a position to provide that rich lifestyle. But I don't think it's a basis also for a father to reject. I think the key thing they must look out for is, does the person have potential? And does the person have character? Because character would mean that even if it's your daughter who has the estate, this gentleman can manage that estate to become bigger. There are families where it is the man who has come in to marry a daughter, who has grown their wealth to something much, much higher. So I think beyond looking just at the money, you may want to actually look at character and whether that character is good for the long haul.
Okay, thank you. Papa, I'll have you speak to that, because you were the one who said it was appropriate that, you know, the woman's mother knows of the guy's net worth or something like that. Now the woman, let's have a scenario where the woman is born with a silver spoon in her mouth, and the guy is okay, like Julius has said. What if, will it be right for the mother to reject him after finding out, you know, his financial stance or status? Would it be right?
When they are married?
Before
they are married.
Yes, because Daniel's question was that, is it okay for the woman's family, or, you know, to know the husband-to-be's, you know, financial status before they get married? And you said, yes, it is.
Yes.
So tell us.
Now, the onus again lies on the family. All right. The one you are giving, again, I stand by the same point. The one you are giving your daughter, son in marriage to is very, very important. Is he a person with the potential of making it in future? Do you see a better future in him? Or do you see a lousy person, somebody who doesn't want to work hard in the future? So the onus lies on the family to determine whether we will give our daughter's hand in marriage to, I mean, before you take your daughter or you allow your daughter to get into that marriage and you later regret. Well, there's also that option. Will I be able to support him or will I be able to support them before they even marry?
Okay.
Not necessarily giving them money, but maybe you have links elsewhere where you can link him to, where you can link your daughter to, just to get that stable platform for them when they are married.
Okay, that's fine. Now, quickly, to wrap it all up, let's talk about prenuptials, right? Vera, you started, reacting. So, do you think there should be a thing?
If you ask me, I normally don't agree that it should be a thing. But it sometimes comes up. And it's linked to the fact that maybe you're going into a home and somebody has an only daughter, but has a very huge estate. So by virtue of this, and of course this fear that is this person coming after my daughter because of this, or the reverse because of their estate. And so sometimes in a quest to protect the wealth,
Right.
they may want to get into that. But it can become very dicey. Dicey because then it sort of gives the impression that you don't trust the other party. But it comes also with the fact that if you know that this person is going to blow money, or they like blowing money to start with, then of course you want to protect. Some will also say that, okay, if I bring the prenup and the person doesn't have a problem signing, it means that their focus is not really in the
Marriage.
money, and so they don't mind.
Okay.
But if they become so jittery about it, then it means the money is the reason why. So it can be more like a double-edged sword. And then there's an example that somebody shared, which is that when there were two people getting married, the lady was just getting out of school, had a very small salary, an old rickety car, but the man was already working. And then the man said, okay, keep your money, but my money is mine. Each person does what they want with their money. Fast forward, they had been married for 7 years. Then she decides that, okay, she wants to change her car.
Okay.
And apparently they had written it down in terms of the prenup. You keep your money, I keep my money, and we each contribute to the pool, and you do whatever you want. But then there's nothing like disclosure about how much I'm making. So the lady tells the man, oh, I want to go and get a gun. This is outside. Said, go out here, because then that would have been like a loan. The lady goes, gets herself the latest Audi, one of the highest specs. So the man comes home and sees the car, like, men love cars. So he sees the car and he's like, wow. And he knows that that's top range, so that's expensive. So he goes like, so with this one, what is the loan repayment? He said, I don't have any loan repayment. I paid cash. Said, how much are you earning to be able to pay cash for this? He wants full disclosure. The woman says, no way, it won't happen. And now that is the heat on the ground. Sometimes you may start the journey and you may be miles ahead. But the question is, how fast is the person from behind you running? Because sometimes they could come past you and cross over to the next realm.
Okay.
So it can be very funny. What it just means is that then let your yes be yes and let your no be no. However you choose to go, make sure you want to live by it and not cause trouble along the line when dynamics change.
Okay, so ordinarily you wouldn't?
No.
Okay. Dr. Kodia, in 30 seconds, would you or would you not opt for a prenup?
It will depend on factors that if the people getting in have lived lives, they've already invested a lot, and so that is when I would consider it. But if all of us are coming fresh, we are young people and we're getting in, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, thank you, Papa. What do you think?
Let me come from that faith aspect. I know that there is a sect amongst Christians who will say a big no. Big no. Why? Because going into it means that you don't have faith that what you are even going to start is going to work. And signing such a thing means that you want it to come to pass. You know, it's like speaking a negative word about yourself, that I want to be sick. That's what many Christians will interpret it. So I know some Christians, they would never ever wish to go into that. And again, it lies on the two couple. You must agree before entering into that into that agreement. You must agree before entering into it. If you want to, fine. If you don't, yes.
Thank you. We'll take our final question. We are out of time, but Derek says, should there be a rule to state the maximum number of days an external family member can stay in your matrimonial home during visits? I don't know. I'm trying to look at the financial aspect, you know, or financial ground for the question. Yes, because you're going to be feeding them and all of that. Okay, so should there be, Papa? Let's start with you. There should be. Okay, Papa, tell us, how many days maximum? When should you throw the person out?
No.
Okay.
It depends again. Okay. If you're able to fend for the person, you can allow the person to stay for a while. But there are some family members, I mean, in their minds, they've come to permanently stay. And you should check out that. If you've seen that your sister has overstayed, sister, when are you leaving? When are you going? You should draw her mind to that fact that you can't come here and stay forever. Okay. This is our home.
Okay. Vera says yes. Vera, you said yes. There should be, there should be a limit. Maximum. Okay, so you agree with Papa on that?
Yes.
Beautiful. Any final words? So we wrap up.
My final words to the audience is this. We marry only once if you're a Christian. And our days on earth, the Bible says they are already determined by God. You don't know when you are going to die. Some die young in their marriages. Some may go as far as 90, as far as even 100. But in all, try to make your marriage work. Let not money, finances, become the reason why your marriage will disintegrate. Do everything possible. If possible, seek help. Whenever you see that sort of mismanagement, that signs, don't wait for the worst to happen. Seek help. It may be your pastor, it may be another counselor, it may be an elderly person you so trust. Seek help before the marriage collapses because of money. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Papa's amen means that his final words are for all of us. So thank you for joining today's discussion. We are happy that you've learned a lot. I've learned a whole lot. Thank you, our panelists, Dr. Kodia, Dr. Fiado, and Reverend Laye. We'll see you same time next week. Good night.